Good afternoon, good people. You guys, I am so excited to have Shanita back with us. In case you don't know who I am, I'm Kate Thompson, a principal broker at Best Real Estate Company. And Shanita is also a broker with our firm. And this is your Friday Focus. And so we had discussed Shanita and I. Well, she hasn't been on the last couple of podcasts because she was a little bit incapacitated. But she's back to normal. She's sitting here looking beautiful as ever. I'm so excited. And because I don't have to talk to myself. But we were going to discuss the idea, the topic of agency, and kind of share a little bit about the different type of agencies that exist and ways that you could use those different types of agencies to create income and leads and that kind of thing. But in our research, we found out something very interesting. Why don't you tell us what that was, Shanita?
So, in case you are not aware, there is a database that Best Real Estate Company has of all kinds of information for agents for every state that Broker K is licensed in. There is resources for agents. So whatever the law is for that state, there's information and videos for every state. New agents, commercial real estate, business brokerage, all of the services that Best Real Estate has, there is a resource in the Google Drive that everyone should have access to because it was sent out in the email. I know in 2022, probably again last year as well, but you should have access to that. So all of the information, the topic that we were going to discuss today, agency, there's a whole 18-minute
video
on agency. So it was futile for
us to do another
right
conversation about agency when I talked for 18 long minutes
about agency
in 2021.
Yes.
So about 3 years ago.
Yes.
I was on that. And so that says two things to me, though. The first thing is that I guess I'm good at anticipating topics that we may need to discuss. And I think I get that from Larry Mayall. He taught me so much about how to read, trends and stuff like that, and what to expect that our agents would have issues and concerns about, questions. And so I really thank him for that. And I think that's where I get that from. And also just from my communications with agents this week, face-to-face conversations that I've had with agents who have come in the office this week about what they understand about agency. It is scary, y'all. It is scary. So I strongly urge everyone to go and watch that video that I put out on agency. There is information about agency for every single state that we're licensed in, or that Broker K is licensed in this database. The agency information and what do's and what you can and can't do in terms of agency for the state of Tennessee is about 25 pages, right?
Yes.
So they gave us an extensive overview and outline about how we can make agency work for us. So we're not going to talk about agency today other than for me to advise you guys, it is in your best interest to go and read about agency for whatever state you're licensed in, and to make sure that you understand that, and then maybe later on we can have some conversation around how you can make that make money for you. Right. Your understanding of the different types of agency.
How to operate in each one.
Yes, how to operate in each one. But today's topics, because we had to scramble, because when we were doing our research, we found all that information, and I was just floored that I had even put that together, and that I even forgot that I did it. So And then we saw a lot of other great stuff in there that I actually forgot was in there. And so, we had to scramble, basically, is what I'm saying. And so, I had a situation last week that I would like to share. And Shanita has a situation from just a couple of days ago. Yesterday,
Yes.
that she would like to share, where we had to use crisis management.
Yes.
And so that's what our topic is going to be about today. And if we have enough time, because like I said, we like to keep these, between 15 and 20 few minutes, we'll talk about some market things. But it is very important for us to understand, I think, two things. One is, yes, as real estate professionals, we are representing ourselves and our business. But we also have to remember, as professionals, that we are all connected, one family. When people come to talk to us about joining our firm, that is actually how I explain it to them, that it is like a marriage between the broker and the agent. We are interconnected by paperwork that says I'm supposed to be responsible for you in a certain way. But you are also supposed to be responsible for yourself as an adult, as a business owner. You should be thinking about the image that you project for your business out in the world. And as real estate agents, we're in a very unique position, because not only are we, charged with the task of protecting our image for our individual businesses, we need to be cognizant of how we present ourselves, because what we do can affect every other agent in our firm and our reputation as a brand. And so, um, I think now it's time to go ahead and jump right into it.
Yep.
So Shanita, you start with since that's the most recent. Let's talk about what you have going on. And let me just say this. She's still in the midst of managing this crisis.
Right.
And it is and I'm so happy she was the person who got the call, because I know her enough to know that she can handle it. But if it was somebody else, this could have went totally left. So go ahead.
So I reached out to a seller. He owns several properties. Um, and I reached out to him because he inquired online about selling the property. And as I was, trying to understand the property and understanding what he needed, of course, I introduced myself and the company. He said, "Wait a minute, what company did you say?" And I repeated it. He's like, "Oh no, I can't work with y'all. I worked with an agent from there, and it was a terrible experience. It was a bad experience. I'll never work with that with y'all again because it was bad." And I heard him out. I let him get all his frustrations out, and I asked him specifically if he could tell me specifically what his experience was, and he used some very strong language,
to say the least.
And yeah, he just said he had a really bad experience. He said the agent that worked with him, he gave me the property address and all that, but anyway, he said the agent that worked with him was um, didn't show up when the agent said they would, charge for things like gas to show the property, didn't provide a good service for him. And it further, like I said, he owns multiple properties that he wants to get rid of, and because that agent did not provide good service, it not only tarnished the brand that is Best Real Estate, but it also, in my opinion, made it further tarnished our reputation as professionals, realtors. We already have the issue with the NAR lawsuits that everybody is watching. So after he explained everything to me, um, I asked him if he would be willing. Well, first I told him, I said, "Well, I understand your frustration," and I thanked him for sharing that. And I asked him if he would be willing to allow me to come and talk to him and explain to him the difference. I said, while we are a part of the same brokerage, the agent that he previously worked with and myself are a part of the same brokerage, that we don't operate the same way. And I assured him that don't operate the way that that agent did. And he paused for a moment, and then he said, okay, you can meet me at the property on Friday. So first, like I said, I'm grateful that he gave me the opportunity, that he was willing to not only share his experience, but also that he was willing to give me a chance to earn his trust, earn his business. So as Kay said, I'm still in the midst of this. We will see how it goes on Friday. I will make certain that I am there on time to hear his concern and to hopefully help him sell not only the property that I'm going to meet him at, but the other properties that he has. But I just think it's important, as I mentioned, that, and Kay alluded to this as well, that we have to be mindful that not only are we representing ourselves as real estate agents, realtors, not only are we representing ourselves, but we are representing the brokerage and the industry as a whole, because people don't think that just because you're in the same brokerage that everybody operates the same way, everybody has the same personality. That's just the public persona that we have, right? And I think it's important that we establish on the front end how we will conduct business, and how and just always are mindful that people are watching us, and they're trusting us to do things for them, right? And I just like it was very frustrating for me to hear, and disheartening to hear those things. And lastly, and I'll give it back to you. I think also that not only do we, should we not after the fact tell somebody, oh, well, you have to pay me gas for going to show this property. I think that because, as Kay mentioned, there are so many different types of agency that we can have with buyers and sellers. I think if we make that known on the front end that, hey, these are the services that I can provide for you based on what you said, and this is the fee structure for that. I think we need to sit down and establish that on the front end before we talk to a seller, before we talk to a buyer. Establish that on the front end to make certain that they are comfortable with it. And instead of saying, "Oh, you got to pay me gas money," that's crazy in itself, because
And then said after you show up late.
Right. Like that should be part of your business expenses. But that's right. A different topic for another day. But
I would love to know from that agent, what if the client has said, I don't have any money? Then what?
Right.
Because you're telling that person after you have shown them the property, oh, by the way, you owe me gas money. For sure. If I was a customer, that would be the last time I laid eyes on that person. Yeah. And so,
and this is a seller that the agent had listed the property. So that was just crazy.
And the agent did not consider the fact that there was an opportunity, if you went there to really have that substantial meeting with that person and figure out what their needs are, you could have figured out that he had multiple properties that he was going to sell, and you were going to be able to get in on those opportunities. Now you have missed the whole bucket. Right. You got a couple of dollars for showing a property or whatever you did. Right. And then he went on and found somebody that he felt was actually going to attend to his need. Right. So I have asked Shanita to give us a follow-up on that, to see if she was able to turn it around. And that type of phone call, guys, is not one that is surprising to me. I have had several situations as the broker where a client has come and said, your agent did something similar. And that's not to say that it's rampant through our company or whatever. We just had a couple of instances in the years that I've been here as a leader where that has occurred. And I'm just saying those type of things are what add to that negative view of who we are as professionals. And we have got to work together to turn that around. I understand that everybody has different needs in their business. You should be assessing what your needs are. You should be, if you're in business for yourself, and part of your business involves driving your car, you should be paying for your own gas. I'm sorry. That is not a cost, in my opinion, that should be passed along to someone else. I could have seen saying, I need you to pay me for my time. But your gas in your car, that's a personal problem. And you need to address that on a personal level. It is not your client's fault that your car, that you're having that situation. So to me, there is an accounting and an accountability for how you use your resources. When you ask someone for gas or something like that as a part of your business, unless I don't know what kind of business that would even be appropriate for, and if y'all want me to, I'll look something up. But I mean, if that is, something that, you are struggling with, then maybe you should be reassessing how you use your resources. And for me as a customer, that's exactly what I would have said to the agent. And then I would have said, I'm finna call you broker. Because I know your company isn't charging me for gas.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So
and that was the perception. He saw it. He saw it as the agent, but he saw the company.
It was a company mandate.
He said it was best. He's like, I will never work with best. So that, yeah. I pray that I'm able to turn it around with him. So like I said,
have the utmost faith that you will.
At least he was willing to the meeting. So open to the meeting. So we'll see. Next week we'll see.
Yes, next week we'll see. And so that's one way that we as professionals may have to manage crisis. I mean, that's something we have to be thinking about every day. Not only what we do, but what our cohorts do. And it puts us in a place where, I've heard it so many times, people bash agents because, they're calling me with their problem. And I could know the other agent on the other side and know that that's really not their personality. But am I going to fight that battle every time, or do I want to? No, it takes too much energy. So we should just be a little bit more proactive on the front end. And as a leader here at Best, I'm going to just go on and say it. Your gas, that's not a reason. You should not be walking up to people asking them to put gas in your car. I'm telling you, if that's your problem, you need to figure out a way to solve it without involving your customer. And so we have one other one that we're going to get to, and then I think we can wrap it up. We can wrap it up. So last week, I had an agent contact me who has been in the business for a very long time. And she has always, every time that I have had the opportunity to work with her on any type of transaction, she has always been thorough and truthful. So one of the things that I need to tell you guys about me, and I think I can speak for Malcolm and Lydia, I know for a fact that they will stand behind you if you can show with your written documentation that you and your client have operated correctly and in good faith in terms of how a transaction is flowing. And so we have, I have kind of I hate to say it, but it's been kind of a contentious relationship with another brokerage and a broker for no reason that is mine. But this brokerage, in my opinion, whenever one of our agents is working with that brokerage, they kind of try to bully our agents and kind of try to make them second guess their knowledge. Well, they caught the right agent on the right day. This agent had a situation where her client had a pre-approval. They went and they put an offer in on a property. The client, our agent, admitted to me that her client did have some challenges with a few lates and things like that, but that was relayed to the lender. The lender still gave her a pre-approval letter. So they're going back and forth in this transaction. They set up a time to close. The buyer wasn't able to get a few documents in at the time, in time, so they had to delay the close or whatever. The client then wound up needing some insurance on the property, and we all know that you got to have insurance if you're using financing to close. And so the agent, her buyer, and the lender proceeded to look for insurance that would help in terms of cost for this person to close as a buyer. And the lender ultimately wound up denying the loan because of insufficient collateral. And so our agent, being the excellent professional that she is, went immediately to the seller side and said, hey, my client, her loan is going to be rejected, and I'm going to send you a pre-approval letter. And I understand why, not a pre-approval, but a denial letter. I do understand why she stated it in the way that she did. She was trying to protect her client's privacy and certain things of that nature. And so this agent on the other side, the selling agent from the bullying real estate company, just pops out and says, hey, I've been in real estate 20 years and your client gonna lose their earnest money. And so our agent has a little spice, because we got a little spice here at Best. She was professional, but she came back and said, hey, I don't understand why you think your client is going to keep my my client's earnest money. The lender denied the loan for insufficient collateral. And then this particular agent says, well, I reached out to your loan officer, and then I went to the top. So I went above your loan officer's head without permission from the buyer to even be talking about their financials. And so we as agents need to quit figuring that we can go and do things like that. You really are only supposed to reach out to the other side, the lender, if the buying agent is unavailable and unresponsive, so that you can help your client. But if you're talking to that other agent, there's no reason for you to be contacting their lender. Some agents I know start out doing it. Like send them an offer. The offer gets accepted. The next thing they doing is calling your client. Well, what you thinking? What? It's not your business. It's not your seller's business. What is going on with the buyer, unless that buyer is giving trouble, being unresponsive, things like that. If the transaction is working and communication is flowing well, you should mind your own business. But this particular agent said, I went to the top and they told me that your client turned in bogus documents. They told me that, your client has an FHA loan on another property. That's illegal. Like all these things. So I asked for her file, because I don't go back and forth with people on what what their thought process was. That means nothing to me. In a court of law, the paperwork is what matters. So I know there are some agents that have been, a little heated with me, because I'll tell them your paperwork isn't together. I'm not going to go to bed off of your gut feeling. But if you give me a file that's perfect, that has where I can look and see the story you're telling me is true, like she said, I will argue with the light pole for you. And that is what she did. She brought her file to me. She did not email it. She drove here with it. She put it in front of me. I could see the pre-approval letter said FHA. Her contract had a big X across FHA. So him saying that she didn't tell him about FHA was totally untrue. It's not our job to pick up the phone and say, I have an FHA client. If you read the contract and you had your client sign it and you were doing your job as a professional by explaining, you would have known she had an FHA client immediately without her having to say anything. Then he goes on to say, she lied about her documentation. And I'm talking to the lender and this and that, this and that. And so I'm like, well, the lender didn't deny her for finances. I'm looking at the pre-approval letter. She was denied for insufficient collateral. Now, I have contacted the lender, which our agent actually did, contacted the lender and asked the lender what that meant. I knew what it meant, but she wanted to be clear for her client, and that's excellent to me. So she contacted the lender. The lender said, oh, they had 3 flood claims on this property in the last 2 years. So we cannot, it is insufficient collateral for us. We cannot insure it. It cannot be insured at this time. So we can't let her buy that. So it turned out the agent was correct, our agent. It wasn't that her buyer turned in some bogus paperwork or any of those things that agent was saying. We also found out that the agent on the other side had convinced his seller to move out of the house and, oh yeah, we're going to get you closed up and da-da-da-da-da, you won't have to pay another mortgage and blah, 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 blah. And so it wound up being untrue for his seller. And so somebody had to pay that person's mortgage. And I guess he thought that, our agent was going to buckle and fold.
To use the earnest money for
it. He's trying to use the earnest money so that he doesn't look bad to his agent, to his client, and so that client can possibly have their mortgage paid. Well, that's not our client's problem. When you advise your client incorrectly, you should pay for that. So his broker emails me, and after he misspells my name, says, hey, I have reason to believe that your buyer is a liar and your agent is a liar. Basically, that's what it boiled down to. So I said, well, I don't go off reason to believe, and neither will the courts. I have this written documentation that says my agent is telling the truth. Now, we can do what we're supposed to do, look at the paperwork and make a decision based on that, or I'm going to tell my client to go interplead. So, let me know what you want to do. Eventually, they came back to us after about a few days, maybe a week. My seller is agreed to give the earnest money back. And so that's what happened. Our agent was successful in getting the client's earnest money back. She did have to come to me because the other side said, let's get our brokers involved. What I want to say is our agent was very capable of arguing that case, and she did an excellent job. And she brought me a file, like I said, where I could see her truth. And so that is another form of crisis management.
Make sure your paperwork is right.
You got to make sure that paperwork is right. The only way you are really, truly able to defend your client, especially once they've started down the road in a transaction, is to make sure your paperwork is on point. And I'm here to tell you, I am not going to go to bat for someone where the paperwork looks sketchy. So, that one wound up turning out good. I'm just saying all that to say it's very important, guys, that we are using the resources here at BEST, that we are using the resources that all of our professional entities provide to us, whether that is NAR, whether that is TREC, whether it's MREC, AREC, it doesn't matter. You need to be using those resources to make sure that you are doing the right things by your client. And like I said, your personal problems are not the problems of your customers and clients. And we should not be out here making our personal problems their problems. Because if we do that, we will continually have these situations where agents have to come behind us and other professionals and perform these crisis management exercises to keep us all making money. So that's all I have to say about that. Do you have anything else?
No, I'm glad we're talking about this, and just read. The resources are there. I'm surprised and a bit ashamed
Yes.
that I didn't realize all those things were there, but yeah, resources are there.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to send them out to you guys with this podcast recording. If you have any questions or want us to talk about anything, let us know. We'll see you next week.